Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Engineer Her Path. I've been thinking a lot lately about what happens after you achieve your goals that you've been chasing for so long. I just came back from giving a closing keynote speech, and one of the central themes of my speech was my thoughts around this book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain. I'm going to go into it a little more. What comes after the promotions, the pay raises, the milestones, the big salary increases that we think will finally make us happy? Not too long ago, I also happened to read this book, From Strength to Strength by Arthur C. Brooks. They're not related, the authors. These two books have really shaped my thinking about this second phase, the second wind of your life. I'm 45 years old, so technically I am in that middle-aged, second wind, later part of my life and my career, and it makes me think a lot about that. These books both talk about the second phase of your life, but they have different central thoughts about it. But I love how they kind of echo each other, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. So in this first one, David Brooks, The Second Mountain, highly suggest reading it. I came across it because Ali Abdaal mentioned it. And if you get this book and all you read is the introduction all by itself will blow you away. It does a really good job of summing up the book. But of course, it goes way more into further detail about everything else. I was going to reread it on my plane trip to my speech in Washington, D.C., but unfortunately, I did not get a lot of reading done. But I'm going to give you a summary about this book. David Brooks talks about in life, there's two mountains. We climb two mountains. The first mountain is about achievement. It's about the promotions, it's about the pay raises, it's about climbing that corporate ladder, it's about success. First mountain is all about ourselves. It's all about me, me, me. And it's about personal ambition. It's the one that society tells us to climb. It's telling us that we need to make more and more money. But then what happens for some people is they get knocked into this valley of despair, this valley of bewilderment and despair. What causes that is different for many people. It could be a divorce. It could be a layoff. It could be a child passing away, but it's something that pushes you off that first mountain and it kind of makes you question everything. But it's in that valley of despair where you actually grow in this discomfort. And there's a second mountain, a second bigger mountain that's not just about climbing and conquering this mountain. So this is the mountain of we. This is the mountain of purpose and joy and contribution. And he also talks about this other dichotomy that I think describes this really perfectly. The first and second mountain is the thin life versus the thick life. So the thin life is what he also will coin the Instagram life, right? So this is people living for the highlight reels, for the pictures. This is where you're having all these different relationships. You're changing jobs all the time. You can't stay in the same city or house. You're not rooted in anything. You have no obligation or commitments to anybody, any company, any city. You don't care about community. The thick life, the second mountain life, is that life where you actually want to have people count on you and you count on others and you want to contribute to something. You want to have purpose. You don't want just happiness. You want this longer lasting, more fulfilling, deeper joy. The reason why I talk about this is I feel I can relate to this. I had my first mountain journey where it was all about pay increases, proving my worth at work, climbing that corporate ladder, and then unfortunately facing some burnout. And when I was in 2016, I took a voluntary layoff. I was in that valley. I was in that valley of despair. I questioned my life. I even questioned my career for a while. I thought about leaving engineering during that time frame. I wasn't sure that it was the right thing for me anymore. Ultimately, what I concluded was it was the right thing, but I was in the wrong place. So sometimes people think that they should radically change industries or careers and all that, but it could be that the environment you were in was not a good environment to do what you really love. I also am really grateful for that valley, that season was also when I really started to figure out the money stuff. I never, ever, ever cared about my money or finances at all. But that valley season, I took quite a bit of time off from work and I didn't have a paycheck coming in all the time. So that was really what forced me to actually start caring about my money, to actually manage my money and to have a plan and also to start figuring out the investing piece of my finances. So out of that pain came a lot of my purpose because that's part of how I came into becoming a financial coach, right? Because once I realized and overcame that pain and that problem, it helped me find purpose in my life beyond just being an engineer. Okay. In this book, From Strength to Strength, that I read even more recently, the subtitle says Finding Success, Happiness, and Deep Purpose in the Second Half of Life. And honestly, I thought it was going to be like a copy of this book or very similar, but it actually has a very different core central thought backed up by a lot of research. If you're not a fan of Arthur Brooks, he studies happiness. I don't think this is one of his more popular or famous books, though. He has other books that he's more well known for. I don't know why it took me so long to read this, but this one's a little more grim, actually, especially for people like me, for any other fellow high achievers. He calls them strivers in this book. The theory is the higher up you are, the harder you fall. So he's talking about when you move into your 40s and 50s in life, the people that strove for so much and achieve so much academically, professionally, and in their careers are going to struggle the most. He talks about there's two strengths in life, and he has what's called fluid intelligence and then crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is what drives your early career success. So it's that problem solving. You're so quick. You're learning all the new things so fast. It's technical skills. It's what helps people like me, engineers, climb that corporate ladder and be so good at work. I remember there's so many times at work where I was thrown into something I had no idea how to do, and I would figure it out. Design a database. I know nothing about databases. I'll figure it out. I was that eager person where I would dive into almost anything. I knew with my aptitude and my quick learning skills that I could pick it up. But later in life, that second intelligence, he talks about that fluid intelligence, that's what takes over as the fluid intelligence will start to fade. And what grows instead is called crystallized intelligence. This is more that wisdom. Now you have that experience where you can tie things together more. You have more of this ability to teach or guide others. When I read that, it made so much sense. But the sad thing is, you have to realize that the fluid intelligence has gone away. And sadly, I think that's true, even though I don't want to agree with it. Because sometimes I'm learning something new and I'm thinking, it's taking me longer than I thought it should take me. I used to be like all over this. Like I would be like digging into doing this, or maybe, consuming hours and hours of YouTube and playing around with things and figuring it out. I was kind of wondering why I don't seem as good at it anymore. I don't seem to have the same aptitude for it. So that's probably true. And he was talking about it's the people that can recognize and adjust and pivot to this other type of intelligence later in life that will do better, instead of people refusing to admit it and still holding on. So this is a bad example, but perhaps NFL quarterback, they're not going to be a quarterback in their 40s or in 50s. Actually, NFL athletes have a really short career, right? So what they do is they move into coaching and they might mentor other people. And how do you apply those skills? I do agree with that. I could probably only coach people now at this age and phase in life, because I think at any other age when I was younger, I was just a lot more impatient. I was a lot more judgmental. I wasn't as empathetic. I couldn't really put myself in someone else's shoes all the time. I was a bit like, if you can't get this right now, I'm not, I can't help you. A little more ruthless about that. Whereas you have to meet people more where they're actually at and be more empathetic of all the different types of personalities and the ways that people have different behaviors. And as I get older, I do find I love the leadership piece of work. And I used to I don't think I would have enjoyed that when I was younger. Even if I had those opportunities, I probably would have botched that really badly. And I think that also translates into how I love helping women in STEM with their money. So it's a strange feeling, because there's some grief realizing that there was a chapter and a phase of your life that might be going away, and how can I peacefully transition into the other chapter of my life? But there's also relief that there's scientific data, and it's not just me. And it's also interesting that he's talking about it's the people that are the most accomplished, the most high achieving, the strivers that will suffer this. So someone that's been a cashier at Walmart, there's nothing wrong with that their entire life, is not going to have this struggle. And it almost makes you think, well, that's unfair. But I guess that's the price you pay for success and intelligence and achievement and all that. It's, this thinking part of my brain. But both books remind me that life isn't just this one long climb. I'm not just trying to conquer this one mountain and that's it. Life is seasons and it's chapters, and there will be loss and growth and reinvention and rediscovery. I'm discovering new things about myself all the time. I never could have imagined years ago that I would be a financial coach, that I would be speaking on stages, more or less giving a keynote speech, that I would be active on social media, that I would be writing newsletters and creating content. These are all aspects and things that I've come to learn and embrace as I've gotten older in life. And it's funny because when I was younger, I also didn't think I was creative at all. I used to always tell people I'm not creative, but I used to always mistake creativity for just artistic creativity. I thought because, well, okay, I don't have any artistic creativity. I still struggle with it now, but I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. And I defined creativity as just being an artist or a musician. But now I've really redefined what creativity is. And it's just wanting to create something new that wasn't there before. Whether it's you want to improve your body, you want to improve your life, you want to improve people's lives, you want to create a business, you want to create content for other people to read. I'm creating this video right now, this podcast episode. So that's also been a really big blessing in my life and a big realization that I can be creative too. So for me, The Second Mountain, I've always resonated with that book. It gave me the language for what my life journey is. And also just to let you know, because I know some people might be thinking, well, I've never had my second mountain. I've never been in that valley of despair. He actually talks about some people never have a valley of despair. Some people have always been second mountain people. I actually know some people like this that just ever since they're little, they've always just been very service oriented. Right. So they've never been this person that desired climbing the corporate ladder, never been into, I have to achieve all these things according to what society says. So don't think there's something wrong if you haven't experienced that. But yeah, I can personally relate to this. And then Strength is Strength. I'm kind of in this and it's helping me understand what's going to happen next in life and how I can maybe hopefully embrace that more peacefully instead of resisting sometimes. So if you're listening and if you feel stuck or in between, I highly suggest these two books. I'll link to both of the books in the notes, but drop a comment and let me know where you think you're at, or if you resonate, or if you disagree. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for tuning in to Engineer Her Path. Until next time, keep climbing that mountain that's meant for you.